we're going to talk about what's new in Business Central. Then we're going to talk about how Business Central could be implemented. And then finally, we're going to talk about why you should be thinking about Business Central. So, getting straight into it, what is new in Business Central? And also importantly, what stays the same? So, if I'm in NAV 2018 and I'm the accounting manager, I open up my home screen, I get something that looks like this. All the tiles and the menu options that I'm used to. On Business Central, if I open up the screen as the accounting manager, I get something that looks like this. Can you see the difference? I can't see the difference because there is no difference. It's what you're used to. If I go and look at the chart of accounts in NAV 2018, this is what I see when I look at my chart of accounts. In Business Central, the default column order is slightly different, but all the same information is sitting there. It's the same. And a day-to-day task, something like capturing a sales order. NAV 2018, I capture the who I'm selling to, lines for what I'm selling, there's fact boxes there that are giving me information. Business Central looks exactly the same. You would be forgiven for thinking that Business Central is NAV 2019. And to all intents and purposes, that's exactly what Business Central is. It's nothing to be afraid of. Everything that you're used to, everything that you like about NAV, it's still there. It still works, and it still works in the same way. But it's not just the next version of NAV. This is the next evolution of NAV. So we've seen what's stayed the same. Let's have a look at some of the things that have changed. Right. One of the first things is the ways that you can access your database. So in NAV, Microsoft started introducing the idea of a web client. When it first came out, it wasn't really loved by everybody. It didn't have all the options that people were looking for. Filtering didn't really work. It wasn't perfect. But in Business Central, they've managed to fix all of that. Now you've got everything here that you would have expected in a NAV screen. 99.9% of your users can use this and never need to go and use a Windows client. In fact, most people would never need to use a Windows client again. That's how good it's got. And this is also where we start seeing the first real changes. There's three things happening on this screen. There's Cortana Intelligence and Intelligent Insights. It's telling me things about my business. So because this is the first time I've logged onto this system, it's offering to give me some help on how to find my way around. Once I've captured some transactions, that text would change, and it would start telling me about what are my most profitable items, who are my biggest customers, where are my biggest sales happening. It gives me that kind of information. And I can click on any of those insights, and it would drill down and take me to the documents where it's getting that information from. It's also trying to do some prediction. It's looking at my sales invoices, and it's predicting that 2 of them look like they're going to become overdue. I can click on that number 2, and it will show me which 2 invoices it thinks are at risk, and it gives me the chance to do something about it now before it becomes a problem. And this is really exciting. This is where Microsoft are starting to implement that artificial intelligence that they're researching so avidly. There's also a mobile client for tablets and mobile phones. These screenshots are from a very middle-of-the-range Android phone, and you've got all the same information for the Accounting Manager homepage that you were seeing in NAV. Doesn't all fit on one screen. I had to swipe sideways 4 times, but all of that information is there. And I can access this from anywhere in the world where I've got a data signal or a Wi-Fi signal. Integration is another area where Microsoft have put in a lot of work. We now have Business Central integrating very tightly with other Microsoft products. In the old days, you're doing a journal if you're working in finance, and you would typically copy your NAV journal, open Excel, paste your information, carry on editing there. When you were happy, you'd copy everything, go back to NAV, paste it, and post your journal. In Business Central, you go past all that. You hit the button to say, edit this journal in Excel. Excel just opens with whatever you've captured so far. You carry on capturing your journal within Excel. When you're finished, you close Excel, and lo and behold, Business Central has that same information that you were capturing. So that integration is now tight between the two. That common data platform starts coming into use. Flow is one that Bryony mentioned earlier. And Flow is a really exciting Microsoft app that it creates workflows between different systems. From within Business Central, I clicked on Manage My Flows, and here I can look at all of my flows, even the ones that have got nothing to do with Business Central. So the first one is my daily weather forecast, where I've got a flow between Bing and my email. The second one that you can see there, when somebody captures a sales invoice over a certain value, it's going to send an email to tell someone there's an approval that they need to do. There are hundreds of applications that can communicate using Flow. Excel, Outlook, Dynamics CRM, Business Central, even things outside the Microsoft stable, so Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, they can also access Flow, or Flow can access them. So if you finish a big job for a customer, you could have a flow that then posts something on your corporate Facebook page saying, we just finished a big job for XYZ, congratulations team. And then another flow that will go and tweet something on Twitter. So it's really pulling everything together. And then a really exciting integration is the integration between Business Central and Outlook. So you might have noticed 2 new buttons appearing on your Outlook toolbar. These started coming in with NAV 2018. Now in Business Central, they're there as well. If you receive an email from a contact within your Business Central database, Outlook can see that they're customers. If you click on the first button to give you customer insights, it brings you information about that customer. What's their balance? What's their credit limit? How much have you sold to them this year to date? How many open sales orders and sales quotes are there for this customer? And you can drill down on any of those numbers just as you would within Business Central to get to the transactions that made up those numbers. Beyond that, there's the new button. You click that and you can open any new sales or purchase document to do with that contact without having to go and open Business Central separately. You're doing it from within Outlook. It goes even further, and Cortana's Intelligence can read the text of that email. So if a customer is asking for a quote or placing a sales order, Cortana can read the text, see what it is that they're talking about, find the items in question. Even if there are pictures attached to the email, Cortana can look at those pictures and try and figure out which ones on your database is the customer talking about. Suggest a quote or a sales order for you then to send to that customer. And it will follow the whole flow through. When the customer has received the goods, send an email requesting payment and even provide a link for the customer to click on to pay that bill using PayPal or their Microsoft account. So it's really tightly integrated. You don't have to start jumping from one system to another system. You can stay in one place and do your entire job. That Cortana Intelligence that I was talking about, I created a new item and I didn't give the system any clues what it was. I called it test, so there's no clue there. I uploaded a picture of Ben's pasta, and then I asked Cortana to please analyze this item and try and figure out what it is. And as you can see, it's quite rightly identified it's food, it's pasta, there's sauce, and it's on a plate. You can choose any of those things that Cortana found, and you can change the description of the item. You can add them to the attributes of the item, or you can use that to categorize the item, which is then very useful for any reporting that you're going to be doing later on. We've looked at some of the things that are new, and there are other things as well, but that's just a taste. Now, how can it be implemented? With NAV, you basically had two ways that you could implement your system. With Business Central, a third way has been added. So now you've got an extra option. So the first option is on-premise. This is a traditional way that NAV has been installed in the past. Basically, you provide your own server. You provide the software and everything that goes with that server. And you are 100% in control of what's happening on that system. With that control comes responsibility. Yep, you're in control, but you're also responsible for doing the backups, for maintaining the antivirus, for looking after the security, for having a disaster recovery plan. But you've got 100% control. You also have a 100% customizable system. Just as your NAV system is customized now, it can be customized exactly the same way in Business Central if you use this option. Any current customizations can be moved across. And you get to choose which access methods you want to use to access your system. So you can use the Windows client, you can use the web client, you can use the mobile app, or you can mix and match and use all three or two of them and have different people accessing in different ways. So it's incredibly flexible. The second option, private cloud, which you sometimes might be called on-premise hosted, but private cloud is how we refer to it now. It's very similar to on-premise, but this time, instead of you providing the server, you rent space on someone else's server. Now, you have as much control as you want, and you can hand over some of that control to your service provider. That service provider could be Microsoft Azure, it could be T-Vision, it could be your current IT network provider. You can ask them to look after the backups, to look after the antivirus, to manage the security, or you can take some of that back in-house. You get to choose how much control, how much responsibility. Again, it's 100% customizable, just as it would be if it was on-premise. And again, you've got the full choice of access methods, Windows client, web client, or the mobile apps. Then there's a new option, public cloud, which sometimes you might hear referred to as software as a service or SaaS. With this one, you get access to a client supplied to you exclusively by Microsoft. You control the data through that client. You don't worry about anything else other than managing your data through that client. You don't have to think about backups. You don't have to think about a disaster recovery plan. You don't have to worry about antivirus. Microsoft are looking after that for you. Customizations are still possible, but now they work in a slightly different way. Instead of using the fobs that you're used to, apps and extensions become the way to customize your system. So we've already written apps and extensions for Agency Time and for Bevica. We can write customizations for anything else that you might want to do. And you also have the option to go into the marketplace and buy a pre-written app from anybody else who has something that you're looking for. With this option, you do not get the Windows client. You can use the web client, or you can use the mobile tablet apps. We've looked at what's new. We've looked at 3 different ways to implement it. Now let's have a look at why you should be thinking about it. Compliance is the first thing. With any software system, if you're on the latest version, you're more compliant. Old versions, they don't have making text digital included. Business Central, making text digital is built in. GDPR wasn't considered when NAV version 6 was written. In Business Central, GDPR is included. Any new legislation that comes out, Microsoft will supply the functionality to comply. So Brexit's happening. Who knows what new legislation there's going to be, what new forms we'll need to fill in, talking to customs or HMRC. Whatever it happens to be, Microsoft are going to provide that functionality. If you're on a really old version, it's not necessarily going to be there. Another thing to look at is all these different ways of accessing your system. Windows client, web client, mobile clients, tablets. Suddenly we can start working smarter. That Cortana Intelligence is available on those clients. You can have people working mobile. Your sales team can be out in the field accessing their NAV or Business Central data through a mobile client and seeing the same thing they would see if they were sitting at their desk. People can work from home. Currently, if you've got an employee who wants to work from home, they take their laptop, there's a VPN connection that needs setting up, their router needs to allow encrypted traffic. With a web client, all they need to know is the web address, their username, their password, and they can use their home PC to work from home. No great expense. And bring your own device. So you're not tied to a Microsoft Windows laptop or computer anymore. It can be Apple, it can be Linux. It doesn't have to be Windows. Anybody who's had a sales director walk in with his or her brand new Apple iMac saying, I want NAV to run on this. And it's not easy. There's a web client now. It doesn't care whether you're using an Apple or Linux or Windows. You can just give them the web address, a username and a password, and it's the same access that they would have as anyone else in the office has. Another thing to consider if you choose the software as a service, public cloud offering, backups. You don't have to worry about them. Microsoft are looking after them. They're mirroring your database. It's going to be hosted in one of 2 sites in the UK, and it's going to be mirrored. If something happens to that server, they'll probably have the backup up and running before you even notice anything went wrong. You can't do that with on-premise. Upgrades. Twice a year, Microsoft will give you an upgrade. They will install it for you. You'll get a little window that says we need to install the upgrade, a little bit like a Windows 10 update. You know, it's going to nag you to do it until it says, well, now we're going to do it anyway. But they're going to sort it out for you. And security. They're looking after the virus protection. They're looking after the access control. You don't have to worry about that. It all comes down to risk. So you're on the latest version, you're lowering your risk. Something happens, legislation changes, you're going to be covered. Microsoft will make sure that everything works going forwards. In summary, I spoke a little bit about what's new and what stayed the same. I mentioned those 3 installation methods: on-premise, private cloud, and the new one, public cloud. And I also spoke about why you should consider Business Central, specifically the risk of staying on an old version. And then coming back to this picture, make today better than yesterday. Make tomorrow better than today. Think about your business. Is it better than it was yesterday? And what are you doing to make it better tomorrow? If you want to make it better, you're probably going to need some new tools, and perhaps Business Central is one of those tools that you might want to use. Thank you very much.